Hello, my dears. Welcome. I'm Lady Creepypasta. How much TV do you watch? Does it sometimes feel like it just sucks you in and you just can't stop watching? This evening, we have 2 tales of TV terror from creepypasta.wikia.com. So come now, my dears, lean in closer and we'll begin. Around mid-October, my television started to make a noise. Not all the time, just when it was set to a specific channel. The noise it made caught my attention. The channel appeared one day with some weird code in the corner. I figured it was a glitch due to it being made available. Most of the time it was just static, and since my TV, being quite old, can hardly pick up the decent channels, it was no surprise to me that this new channel would cut in and out like it did. I don't have any sort of television provider. I use antenna. And I had been meaning to get one for a long time, but I hardly watch TV anyway, and I didn't feel like paying the outlandish costs. In the beginning, the new channel didn't play anything I was familiar with. I couldn't make out most of the shows because the signal was sporadic, but when the waves made it through, it would show images of people. I think they were stills. I never saw them move. These people would be shown one at a time, standing in black space. I figured that whatever show was playing had to do with strange diseases. All of the people that were displayed had these grotesque-looking growths on them. Some looked like simple boils. Others, I guess the more developed stages, had their skin almost peeled back from their muscles. It would just be hanging there. I never caught a glimpse of any of the people's faces, but I assumed that they were just as bizarre looking as their bodies. The noise that the channel made is hard to describe. It was like when you had the volume on your speakers tuned up too high, that background buzz. I checked my volume whenever I flipped to it, and it was fine, so I blamed the signal. When nothing good was on the few channels I can pick up, I flipped to the new one, and sure enough, the noise was there. Whatever the show was, it was interesting enough to wade through the static to try and make out what was happening. After a couple of weeks, the people in the images started getting closer to the screen. They'd be more detailed, and they seemed to be decomposing further. They would lose more and more of their skin as they crept forward. After a while, it looked like they were coming towards me. They started to discolor. It was like the air was getting to them. The noise started getting louder as well, and began to cross over into the other channels I could pick up. So did the images. I thought it to be the fault of my television, so I stopped watching it for a while. Not too long after, out of curiosity, I flipped on my TV and turned to the channel, but it wasn't there. I went through the available channels 3 or 4 times, and it was nowhere to be found. The noise had stopped too. A few days ago, I woke up in the middle of the night. All I could hear was the noise. I went into my living room, and sure enough, my TV was on, and up in the corner was that code. The images, though, were right up against the screen, like they were pressing on it. They were flickering between one another. I ran over and turned it off. I stood there for a while, making sure everything was okay. Eventually, I calmed down enough to go back to bed. The channel hasn't been on since. My TV is fine. All the old channels work. Lately, though, out of the corner of my eye, I can see the people. They're just as decayed as when they were on the screen, but one thing's different. They move now. I can hear the noise too, and it's getting louder. We got it from the second-hand store for a cheap price when I was about 10 years old. I remember being really excited to have my own TV set in my room. It was one of those 70s style TVs. After my dad brought it upstairs and hooked it up on my desk, I spent the whole afternoon laying on my bed watching local TV, not knowing what was ahead. That night, we turned the TV off and drifted to sleep. I was suddenly standing in front of my house. It was daytime. The sun was brighter than normal. A shadow-like figure was in the distance. It looked like a man, but I couldn't tell. It seemed to be smiling as it started running towards me quickly. I took off, trying to get away. The shadow got closer and closer. It was about to catch me when I woke up. The TV was on full blast, which was strange because the TV was hard to turn on. You needed to pull a lever, and it wasn't easy to pull. I shut off the TV so it couldn't wake my brother and my baby sister. I drifted back to sleep. Over the past week, things got even creepier. Every time I entered the room, I felt like someone was watching me, so I tried to avoid going in there. The nightmares became darker and felt more real. The shadow became more aggressive. I don't entirely remember, but it always had that haunting smile. The TV would always be on every time I woke up from a nightmare, even though I always shut it off before I went to bed. An odd incident occurred when my baby sister, who can barely walk in addition to only being 2 years old, was able to escape the crib before wandering to my parents' room. She stared at them with an expressionless face for a long amount of time. My dad kept telling me that the TV would always turn on at full blast in the middle of the night and how it drove him crazy. The nightmares became worse, up to the point that the shadow started hurting me in the dreams. The nightmares became more of a blur. I remember once that the shadow had trapped me in a room. The room was small and pitch black. The only thing I saw was that smile. I saw it taking out a knife and jamming it into my chest. The pain felt so real, so intense. I instantly woke up and checked if I was alive. One morning, I was in my room playing my Game Boy happily when I saw the shadow standing at my doorway. This time I saw him clearly. His face was decomposing, and he still had that horrific smile. He stared at me with those crazed eyes. It stood there for 2 seconds until it disappeared. I was frozen, unable to move or think. I was scared out of my mind. From there, I knew the TV had to be responsible for the strange activity. That same week, my family and I had enough of it, so we decided to throw that piece of shit in the trash. All the nightmares stopped, and the heavy air lightened up. To this day, I have no idea who that man was or what his intentions were. I guess the previous owner was attached to that TV and never let it go. The last time I saw that man was 2 days later after we threw the TV away. It was night and dark. I was staring out of my window because I had nothing else to do. He was standing in the alley beside my house, waving goodbye. I guess too much TV really can be bad for you. If you've just found me, my dear, welcome. Be sure to subscribe before you leave. If you enjoy this channel and would like more of your fix, do become a patron at patreon.com/LadyMcCreepster. For as little as $1 a month, you could get an additional 4 stories. As a patron, you could also be eligible for discounts on my Dungeon Essentials or merchandise. Go to patreon.com/LadyMcCreepster for more information. That's it for today, my dears. Till next time, sweet dreams.